Hello, and welcome to South Asia Diary with me, Mariam Wardak. Across the world, 4-day working weeks have become the new trend. The idea is to keep workers happy, to give them that extra holiday every week. One country in South Asia is also trying out 4-day working weeks, not to reward their employees, but to keep their economy afloat. We're talking about Sri Lanka. The Sri Lankan government is giving 3 holidays a week to all public sector employees. On tonight's episode, we tell you why. Also on the show,
is India's financial capital ready for the electric vehicle revolution? We bring you a ground report from Mumbai. A new mobile application seeks to help Pakistan's deaf community. Find out how Connect Here is making social interactions easier for the hearing impaired. Meet Indira Ramanagar, a social worker in Nepal taking care of the children of convicted criminals. Pride Month high in South Asia as gay icon wins Miss Bhutan 2022.
everybody loves a 4-day working week. In Sri Lanka, it will soon become a reality for public sector employees. But there is a catch. Workers must use this time to grow food, basically to contribute towards Sri Lanka's economic rival. How will the government implement this scheme? Will it make any difference to Sri Lanka's food output? Let's find out.
Who doesn't like a 4-day work week? Work until Thursday. Take the next 3 days off. It's a concept that is taking off in the West. Countries like Iceland and the United Kingdom have piloted it. The hope is to keep workers happy, and a happy worker equals a more productive worker. Sri Lanka too is trying out a 4-day work week. The reason? Entirely different. The government is hoping to ease the fuel and food shortage. This rule will only apply for public sector employees, around 1 million of them in Sri Lanka for the next 3 months. They will have a 4-day work week. Extra holiday is not for relaxing though. It's to do a different kind of work. Agriculture. The government wants its employees to start growing food. Also, to cut down fuel consumption. By staying home on Fridays, they are expected to consume less fuel on transit. It's an innovative idea, but critics have multiple doubts. For starters, how do you verify this? How do you check if an employee is growing food or not? Near to impossible. Secondly, how many employees have land to grow food on? Government employees in Sri Lanka do not have the luxury of owning multiple plots of land, which makes growing food impossible. And third, most employees live outside of Colombo. They don't use cars. They use public transport, and those buses and trains will run regardless of their holiday. So loopholes remain in this 4-day work plan. Meanwhile, another issue needs immediate attention. The snaking queues all over Sri Lanka. You must line up for everything nowadays. Food, fuel, rations, sometimes up to 10 hours. And as they say, time is money. Workers are spending most of their valuable time in lines, leaving little time to actually get work done. Take taxi drivers for instance. They spend more than 2 hours to get fuel. Those 2 hours could have been used productively to get a couple of rides.
Because of the current crisis, we have to allocate more time to stand in the queues. I have to get up earlier, finish all my housework and come to wait in line. Sometimes I have to sleep inside the tuk-tuk and go to work from here. We have to balance our daily activities with extra time required for the queue.
Imagine a whole country just queuing up. That's Sri Lanka for you right now. Until the shortages ease up, this problem will persist. Sri Lankans will spend more time in lines than at work. The result? Economic productivity will not rise. So, bridge financing is the immediate need for Sri Lanka. Secure enough money to fix the shortages, to buy enough basic supplies. Only then can the economy return to normal. South Asia Bureau, WION, World is One.
The deaf community in Pakistan has been traditionally ignored by the government. Most routine activities are an uphill task for them. The reason? A communication problem. But a new mobile application is hoping to bridge the gap. It's called Connect Here. How does the application work? Will it be a game changer for Pakistan's deaf community?
Pakistan is home to 10 million people with hearing impairment. Their life is a constant struggle. Most people here do not understand sign language, so communicating is tough. Enter Connect Ear. It's a mobile application designed for deaf people. How exactly does it work? To understand that, let's join Alishba Ahmed in Karachi. She's a student of interior designing. Alishba routinely visits home decoration stores in the city. She's heading to one now. Not anymore. With Connect Ear, Alishba can manage all by herself. How? Take a look.
जी हाँ, ये सिरेमिक है और इसके साथ साथ ये टेक्सचर के साथ है. अगर प्लेन ऑप्शन आता है तो फिर उसमें दो उसकी प्राइस होते हैं, फिर डिफरेंट आ जाती है. जी, इसमें बेसिकली ये टेक्स्ट उसके साथ एक सेल्फ डिज़ाइन है, तो इस वजह से इसकी प्राइस थोड़ी सी वो है. अगर आप सेल्फ प्रिंट में जाते हैं तो फिर उसकी प्राइस थोड़ी सी डाउन होती है. जी, कलर्स भी अवेलेबल है इसके अंदर और डिज़ाइंस भी अवेलेबल हैं.
The process is quite simple. Connect Here works like a call center. During office hours, 4 to 5 interpreters are on shift. You can use the app to reach one of them. The interpreters will then translate whatever you sign into speech. Pretty simple, right? Convenient too. The app has been downloaded 10,000 times already. They receive 70 to 80 calls every day, sometimes even from outside Pakistan.
We get calls from many parts of Pakistan, many countries, and around the world, around the globe. We get calls from India, from Bangladesh, from America, and different countries. And scenarios for the calls are bank interview, opening an account, problem with any account, hospital scenarios, some emergency scenarios where communication is very important.
70% of the calls are from Pakistan, 10% from India, and 20% from the rest of the world. Most of the calls are related to finance and health. Right now, the app is only active during office hours. The hope is to expand it, to create a 24/7 helpline for deaf people. Apps like Connect Here are part of a larger movement in Pakistan. Deaf people have traditionally been ignored here, but slowly things are changing. Yet, challenges remain. Not everyone in Pakistan owns a smartphone. Not every village has internet connectivity. So apps like Connect Here remain a largely urban tool. For the millions living in Pakistan's rural hinterland, being deaf is still a constant struggle. South Asia Bureau, WION, World is One.
Electronic vehicles are being touted as the future of automobiles. They are clean, green, and in fashion. But how will these EVs fare in South Asia? This is a region that lacks the proper facilities to run electronic vehicles, especially charging stations. In such a situation, can South Asia make the transition from fossil fuel to electricity? Our correspondent in India's financial capital, Mumbai, takes a closer look.
Meet 30-year-old Darshan Seth. He lives in Malad, one of the fastest growing suburbs in India's financial capital, Mumbai. His daily travel experience from home to work, it has changed completely in the past year. Reason, his shift from an internal combustion engine to an electric car.
I've driven almost around 10,000 kilometers. First and foremost, once you are inside the car, it's a completely silent car. You are detached from the world. Second is, the cost of driving this car is roughly 1 rupee per kilometer.
On the 15th of July 2021, the Maharashtra government announced its electric vehicle policy. The policy aims for at least 10% of EV penetration into India's financial capital, Mumbai, by 2025. The electric vehicle automatically leads to zero emissions, reduces carbon footprint, and finally goes in an environment-friendly direction. Incentives are given to EV owners like a Rs 1.5 lakh subsidy for four-wheelers and Rs 10,000 for two-wheelers. After the policy announcement, registrations of electric vehicles increased by at least 5 times in Mumbai. Between 2020 to 2021, 1,438 electric vehicles were registered, and in the year 2021 to 2022, the registrations shot up to nearly 7,500. There is a total of 9,519 EVs in the city, including 2, 3 and 4-wheelers. But owners say with pros, there are a few concerns too. Major issue, limited EV charging stations.
An EV car takes roughly around 8 to 10 hours to charge completely. Now, in city, there is limited fast charging infrastructure. So your car is, supposed to be charged all the times. Otherwise, during times of emergency, you'll be stuck up. Especially when you're planning for a long trip, like I've been to Goa per se. There's been a case that while returning back from Goa to Mumbai, probably we were, say, around 5 to 7 kilometers away from the charging station, and we had just 1% battery in our car. So eventually we had to go to a petrol pump. We had to request them to give us a slow charging facility. We managed somehow. But long trips are practically still not very easy enough in an electric car.
The distance between my home and office is very short, so I prefer using a EV electric bike. But for longer routes, it requires a lot of speed. This electric vehicle gives only 60 kilometers per hour and also takes a lot of time if you go on a longer route.
According to the BMC data, there are around 100 EV charging stations installed across in the city of Mumbai. And to further enhance and boost the adoption of EVs, the civic body has set an ambitious target. The target is to set up at least 1,500 EV charging stations by 2025.
BMC says that it is working to figure out space available on public property which can be leased out for companies to come in and install their charging stations to achieve the target. All the city buses are to be electrified by 2027 and 55 locations identified already, including bus stands and depots. It is also working on its electric vehicle charging policy, wherein 20% of parking spaces in all residential and commercial buildings would have to be kept for e-vehicles. According to a city-level analysis conducted by World Resource Institute India, the total EV charging energy demand in the city is expected to be 550 megawatts per hour by 2025.
We are trying to address charging infrastructure issues related to residential charging. We also want to understand the processes of different energy agencies that we have in Mumbai. We have 4 DISCOMs, all 4 are having different policies. So We've also started understanding what is the energy demand going to be in the city in 2025 and 2030 based on our projections. We are trying to find the hotspots where charging will be required, and we are doing that at a 1 by 1 kilometer grid level to understand where we need to put charging first.
With rising fuel prices, experts believe it is economical to run an EV. The government believes that the incentives offered in Maharashtra are higher than in any other state. The EV experiment is definitely a big hit in foreign countries, but will Mumbai make it to the list? Only time will tell. With video journalist Mangesh, Disha Shah, South Asia Bureau WION, World is One.
We all know what happens to people who commit crimes. Most of them end up in jail. But have you wondered what happens to their children? With their parents in jail, how do these children survive? One such activist is taking kids under her wings. In Nepal, Indra Ramanagar, she's providing shelter and education to the children of convicted criminals. Our team visited one of her special homes. Here's what we saw.
Amma, meaning mother in Nepali, is what Indra Ranamagar is to 500 children that she has taken into her care. She is the founder of the Prisoners Association Nepal. She rescues children who are forced to live with their incarcerated parents in the prison. The majority of the children at her homes are girls who, after being rescued, are provided the opportunity to get an education. Sometimes when people are sent to prison, they have no choice but to bring their children with them. Otherwise, they end up homeless. In Nepal, young children are often kept with their mothers in prison. But after the age of 5, thousands of them find a new life and education beyond bars in one of Indra Ranamagar's homes. Indra runs 15 residential homes and a few schools and aspires to make it pan-Nepal. For 33 years, she has been helping children from poor communities. She says crimes happen due to poverty.
My fight for the social security for the kids and vulnerable people, at least basic human rights, we don't have in Nepal. That's my fighting. I rescue and raise over 2,000 children. And now, under my care, 500 kids. But some we are like working for the integration process. Some we are working for the vulnerable places and the deprived group places. You know, I was also never imagined that children are behind the bar. So when I see like these innocent kids being forced to live in behind the bar without proper nutrition food, without any facilities, with their convicted parents, and that made me sad and my heart breaking moment in my life, and that's my turning point of life.
Even as a child, Indra knew what she wanted to do: help people living in poverty. From being born in humble beginnings with limited access to education and opportunities, she has now dedicated her life to sheltering the children of women in prison. Many prisoners come from very poor families. Under Indra's program, children under the age of 5 are allowed to go to school during the day and stay with their mothers in prisons at night. The mothers are also educated in prison and receive vocational training.
My main idea is also like a process of relation to maintain the relation with between children and parents. So like a Japa prison is near like a 7 kilometer away from my children home. So children there go to meet their parents in prison. So and they every Saturday they can call each other. And here also Kathmandu also there's from the prison they call every Saturday. We give them time to speak, and sometime in a holiday time and sometime festival time we take children to meet with their parents.
Indra not only rescued these children but also gave them their own identity to pursue their careers. She has taken children as young as 1 year old into her home.
No matter she's my own mother or not, she loved me as her own children. She cared about me. She gave me lots of different opportunities. So like I'm really thankful for Indira, and I'm really proud that she's still caring of so many children as she has done to me. And everyone should be everyone should feel lucky about her to have her mother like Kindirama.
Citizenship documents which are issued at the age of 16 are required to register to vote, register marriages or births, buy or sell land and immovable property. Indra says she doesn't receive any help or funds from the government and raises funds through international organizations, individual donors and friends.
Indra Rana Magar is mother to the 500 children she has taken into her care, whose parents suffer from poverty and are in prison. Rescuing them from the prison to giving them an identity, Indra Rana Magar is still fighting for basic human rights in Nepal. She has fought for humane conditions at the prison by lobbying with local politicians and administrations. Under Rana Magar's program, children below the age of 5 attend the school during the day and go back to their mothers in the prison at night. Indra grew up in extreme poverty and had to fight to be able to go to school. Even as a young girl, she knew she wanted to help other people who have hard lives. Saloni Murarka for WION World is One in Kathmandu, Nepal.
As you may already know, June is Pride Month around the world, a time to celebrate the LBGT community. In Bhutan, the community has found a great ambassador, their first ever beauty queen. 23-year-old Tashi Choden. She is queer and will represent Bhutan at the Miss Universe pageant this year. How did Miss Choden conquer the pageant scene in Bhutan? What was the reaction among ordinary Bhutanese?
And with that, history was made. Tashi Choden was crowned Miss Bhutan for 2022. Her victory isn't hers alone. It's a victory for Bhutan's LGBTQ community. Tashi is openly gay. She hopes to use this platform to help young women find their voice. Winning this pageant is a legitimate platform where I can advocate on social issues and talk to young women and try to empower them and try to make them believe in themselves more, because I had a hard time believing in myself, and look where I am right now. Adversity isn't new for Tashi. As a child, she lost both her parents while living in India's Nagaland. At the age of 14, she returned to Bhutan. The very next year, Tashi took her first modeling assignment. Then came a wave of projects, fashion shows, movies, pageants, and now this, the biggest stage of them all, Miss Bhutan 2022. Tashi's victory comes at a special time for the LGBTQ community. This is Pride Month, a time to celebrate the queer community, to fight for their rights. Bhutan too has challenges to overcome, but different from ones in the West. In 2021, Bhutan decriminalized homosexuality, yet same-sex marriages are not recognized here. Buddhism is the biggest religion in Bhutan. More than 70% of the people practice it. Buddhism does not condemn homosexuality, one of the few religions not to. Some top Buddhist monks have also supported LGBTQ rights, but progress has been slow. The arrival of social media made the community more visible. Now there are special internet groups, rights organizations, parades. Bhutan's queer community is finding its voice in the digital age. Tashi Choden is among them. She first came out as bisexual on Facebook, later realizing that she was a lesbian. Her victory in this contest is another milestone in Bhutan's LGBTQ campaign, a visible and vocal ambassador for the community. South Asia Bureau, WION World is One.
That's all we have for you on this episode of South Asia Diary. We'll be back next week with a brand new lineup of stories. Until then, stay safe. I am Mariam Wardak and you are watching WION World is One.